So I'm back here working on this blanket chest that I'm building for my mom. I have all the tails cut on both tail boards, and now I am cutting and fitting the pins on the pin boards, as you can see here. I have this joint done. I still have to cut the pins on the other three, but I have this right here set up. My joint is seated. It will not go in all the way though. On boxes that I make that are not as wide, usually I can get it to go in right off the saw. That's just because I'm pretty daring when I cut my pins right up to my marking gauge, or my knife line rather. But on wider cases like this, I find I have to do a little finessing to get the whole thing to go in. Now, in this situation where I've gotten it in there and it's pressed down, I got it in there with a little bit of coaxing from a mallet, not too much though, and when it's here, I stop. If I try to send this home, what is going to happen is one of two things. I'm either going to get a crack on my tailboard, or I'm going to get a crack on my pin board. And it'll happen in very predictable places. I haven't had that happen for a very long time, and it's because I do what I'm going to show you right now. So after I've established that my joint is properly seating, but will not go all the way down into its final resting spot, I will pull it out, as I've done here, and I'm just shifting this board forward a little bit. What I have here is just a regular ass pencil. This is a nice one, but any old pencil will do. What I'm doing with this is going in between the tails, and on the walls of the tails, I'm going to spread a bunch of that lead, or graphite rather, on the walls. And what'll happen is, when I go back and try to seat this joint, that extra lead will rub off on the walls of the pins where it's too tight. I'll show you that now. So now I've rubbed pencil on the walls of all the tails, and I have this joint all seated again. You can see the pencil right there. I'm going to take a mallet and just lightly tap along here. And I'm not trying to force that joint down. I'm just trying to get it in there and kind of squeeze in a little bit. I don't want to push it in all the way. Because what I really want to do right now is use this to inspect where things are too tight, okay? So now that I'm done with this, what I'm going to do is pop that joint out and we'll take a look at what happened. So now I've taken the tailboard off the pin board, and if you look here, you can see that some of those pencil marks that I left on the sidewalls of the tails have rubbed off on the sidewalls of the pins, and that is where things are too tight. The other thing I know is when I cut my pins, I knew I cut perfectly straight. And when I cut my tails, I knew I cut perfectly 90 across the end grain. Because of that, I know that this is too tight along the entire wall. So when I go to pare, I'm going to take a 1-inch chisel. This is 7/8, so it's wider than that. And I can pare across the grain, taking off a nice tiny sliver, okay? A little sliver along the entire length of that pin wall. And I'll go across the grain using an incredibly sharp chisel that is wider than that pin wall. So after paring away those pencil lines, this is how much more I can get it seated with the same amount of pressure from that mallet. So what I'll do now is pop it off again, take a look at where the pencil lines are, pare again, do the same thing again. Sometimes I'll have to reapply the pencil lead, on there, but usually it's not the case. Depending on how far off you are, it may take longer or shorter. I think after one more pairing, I can probably send this sucker home and be good to go. But I don't remember where I first learned this tip, but I use it on pretty much every case I need to use it on. If it's not fitting right away, I'm pulling out a pencil. And here's what it looks like after 2 more pairing sessions, or attempts rather. I wanted to show this to y'all for 2 reasons. 1, to show you what it looks like when it's done, and 2, because I want to be honest with my work and show you where I make little boo-boos. You can see right here, there's a little bit of a gap right there. The other ones look pretty flawless to me. This one I'm not too concerned with though, because what this is my chisel just got a little bit away from me, only up at the top here. And I'll show you this from the side, but this is what it looks like from the top after that pairing. And because I took light passes only where I saw the pencil, I was able to get it to fit like this. Here's another view of the joint. My pencil is pointing to the pin that has that problem, and you can see that gap is just up at the top. So yeah, pretty happy with this. Pencil method never fails.